Good morning, everybody. Please, let's pray. Our Father, we are so grateful unto you for the gift of life. Thank you for 2023 Humboldt Kolleg International Conference. Thank you for journey mercies granted to everyone here this morning. We give you all the glory, accept our thanks and praises in Jesus' name. Amen. Father, we ask that you take perfect control as the conference continues, that each session will give glory to your name, and all that everyone needs to know, you will grant us in the name of Jesus Christ. The conference will be a success. And at the end of it all, everyone will go back to his or her base, glorifying you, having enlarged each one's knowledge in the name of Jesus Christ. Thank you because you have heard us. Thank you because your spirit is here. Thank you because every speaker will speak your mind, and everyone will be blessed through it. In Jesus' mighty name we have prayed. Amen.
Thank you very much. God bless you, Ma. I want to say briefly before we go on, this is a collection of intellectually sound scholars and aspiring scholars. And in the spirit of scholarship and how we do it, I know that our sitting arrangements can do a better job to ensure a very audience-friendly atmosphere as well as a camera-friendly coverage. So I want to urge and kindly ask that those of us sitting behind, please move forward. Let's do that very quickly as we get the place set for the program. Those of us on the other half of the divide, please kindly, gratefully come forward. God bless you. Thank you so much. I want to, in the order of importance and dignity and nobility, invite upstage the following people. And I want you to join me as I do the recognition and invitation of our guests. Please put your hands together as I recognize and welcome upstage the chief host of this event, the Vice Chancellor of Bowen University. Please put your hands together as I invite Professor Timothy Babalola. Please celebrate him big time. A man of timber and caliber. My salary will not be paid. I know that when the Vice Chancellor speaks this way, he's speaking in metaphors. So in other words, he's saying my salary will be multiplied. Please celebrate me for the honor I just had. Thank you, sir. You're welcome. And I'd like to also invite to the high table to join him, Professor Ladele. Please celebrate him as he comes forward. You're welcome, sir. We also have in our midst Professor Odeku. Please celebrate her as she joins them on stage. You're welcome. Please put your hands together. She's here. Beautiful looking. God bless you. We also have in our midst the Deputy Vice Chancellor of Bowen University in person of Professor Oluwatosin Atobatele Ebenezer. Please celebrate him as he comes forward. When I grow up, I'd like to hijack your suit, if you permit me, sir. Looking great. God bless you, sir. And last but not the least, to join on the high table, our convener, none other than Professor Cecilia Akintayo. Beautiful as always. Please celebrate her. That celebration looks like you're clapping for me, for her. Thank you. All right, I guess we have the high table completed. Ladies and gentlemen, also join me as I ask men of timber and caliber who are also here with us in persons of the principal officers of Bowen University to come take their seats in the front row here. And I want to invite upstage our registrar, my mentor in holding the microphone to do a job like this. He's a father of MCs. And please join me as I welcome Mr. Babatunde. Mr. Babatunde. You know, I'm so raptured by the fact that he's my mentor that I forgot his surname. And I know he will forgive me already. Thank you very much, sir. Now I understand why my salary was intending to be withheld. You know, I had called him Professor Timothy when I invited the Vice Chancellor. Thank God he forgave me. Thank you, Registrar, for reminding me. All right, so all of my sins are forgiven already. Thank you very much. All right, I'll also ask Mr. Babatunde Kolaole to join him, the bossa of the university. Please celebrate him as he comes forward to take his seat in front. Do we have any other principal officer here? Oh, good. Wow. Who am I to miss out this name? Also looking very elegant, we have the librarian, Bowen University, Mrs. Otunla. Please, Dr. Mrs. Otunla, celebrate her as she comes forward. Please, when I use the word celebrate, I actually mean celebrate. Please, can you celebrate her? Thank you very much. All right. At this point, I'll move on to the next set of people to be recognized. And we have in our midst also AVH, that's Alexander von Humboldt Ambassador Scientists. Please celebrate all of them who are in the house. Celebrate all of them who are in the house. And I know because we are so many, ironically, even them or they themselves are already joining in the celebration. And I have a list of people here that I want to acknowledge along with all of the Humboldtians in the house. Please, when I mention the names, just celebrate them because it is not easy to attain this status. And I know many of us who are not there aspire so greatly to be there. And I'm going to be calling on the following people. I may have mentioned their names, but when I mention them, it means they are AVH scholars. And it's a lifetime membership as I got to know. Please celebrate as I acknowledge in our midst Professor Babalola. Okay, there's a mistake in the spelling. Babalola Jonathan. Please celebrate our Vice Chancellor. We also have in our midst Professor Odeku Oluwatoyin. She's also an AVH scholar. We have Professor Olu Owolabi Bamidele. Is he here? Please wave, just wave. All right, God bless you, sir. We also have in our midst Professor Shonibare Olua. Shonibare. Sorry, I grew up in Jos. Forgive me. Thank you very much. Professor Shonibare Olua Banjo. Please celebrate him. All right. And then we also have Professor Unoa Bona Emmanuel. God bless you. Please, let's celebrate him. We also have Professor Obo Ganiu. Yes, that's him waving. God bless you. We have Professor Akintayo, our own Professor Akintayo Emmanuel. Please, let's celebrate him. Yes, sir. We have his damsel and lovely wife, also Professor Akintayo Cecilia. She is also a winner. Please, what can I do to enter your kingdom? When the husband and his sweetheart are both winners of these prestigious awards, may the Lord grant me that reality. And those of you who aspire like me. All right. We also have in our midst Professor Dare Enoch. Please celebrate him. Is he here? Okay. Following that, we have Professor Oshun Daunsi Oluwatoyin. All right. We have Professor Aye Lagbe Isaac. All right. I have so much schoolings to do today. Professor Aye Lagbe Isaac. Please celebrate him. You're welcome, sir. We also have in our midst Professor Adejumo Timothy. Good to have you around, sir. Professor Uche Chukwu E. Vincent. Is he here? All right. We have Professor Ehi Eromosele Cyril. He's on the way. Professor Shitu Adebayo Osage. On the way too. We have Professor Ojo Olufemi Ernest. Also on the way. We have Professor Badejo Musa Dolua. The Lord help me today. All right. We also have in our midst Professor Adesoji Abimbola, our own Professor Abimbola. He's not here present, but I guess he's on the way. We have Professor... Oh, wow. Handsome looking. Good to see you, sir. Sorry, I missed that out. We have Professor Unwana Lawrence. Is he here? Good to have you, sir. We have Professor Taiwo Rotimi. Great to have you also, sir. Professor Deji Olanike. Okay, on her way. We have Professor Adegoju Adeyemi. Good to see you, sir. We have Professor Olusegun Titus. Is he here? All right. So we have also Dr. Oladoja Nuruddin on the way too. Okay. We have Dr. Bola J. Blessing. Is she here? All right, great. We have Dr. Okay, I have mentioned. Okay, we have another. Dr. Uno Abona Foluke. Is she here? We have Dr. Omonijo. Omonijo. A child has a day. Omonijo Akinyemi, please celebrate him. Then we have, finally, but not the least, Dr. Adebayo Olusegun Latif. Please, can we celebrate him? All right, thank you very much. We are glad and honored to have you here present. We also have in our midst the convener of this great event, Professor Cecilia Akintayo. Please celebrate her one more time. They have done a very good job of preparing ahead along with the LOC and all of the hands behind the stage to make this day a possibility and this gathering a reality. Let's give it up for them very gratefully one more time. Thank you so much. And I know we have in our midst also, we have provosts and directors, provost of colleges, directors. Okay. Just before we move to the next line of guests to be acknowledged, we also have Professor Kola Adebayo, DVC, Deputy Vice Chancellor of FUNA. Please give it up as we recognize him greatly. Good to have you around, sir. All right, he's our guest speaker. We also have in our midst directors of directorates. If you're here, please just wave. Do we have any directors here present? All right, good to have you. We have Professor Abiola. Please, can you celebrate him? I can see Professor Olutayo. Please celebrate her too. Is there any other person I've left out among the directors? Okay. And then we have Provost of Colleges. Any provost here present? All right. Okay, program coordinators present. We acknowledge you. Members of staff, professors here present, doctors here present, colleagues, and then we have all our participants. Please, one more time, let's warmly welcome ourselves by giving a very warm hand of applause. Thank you very much. God bless you. Today is a very great day, and I have been intimated to also relate to us the fact that beyond the AVH of yesterday or yesteryears, that today, AVH is no longer for pure sciences or applied sciences, that the window of access is now open to people from all fields, including social sciences, English, religious studies, and we have people ably representing those inclusions in our midst. And that shows that all of us can be potential or are actually potential AVH scholars. And at this point, having said that, without waste of time, please, ladies and gentlemen, join me as we move on to the next item on the program, the welcome speech. And that will be delivered by none other than the convener of this event, Professor Dr. Akintayo Cecilia O. Please give her a warm round of applause as I hand over the microphone to her. Okay. All right, so at this point, please, before she comes forward, we're going to take the anthems, and I want to urge that we kindly rise on our feet to do that. Thank you very much. The first anthem we're going to take is the national anthem. Thank you. Thank you very much. Please take your seats. All right, it's time to hear our convener. Please give it up for her one more time. God bless you.
The chief host for this Humboldt Kolleg, Professor Babalola, the Vice Chancellor, Bowen University, the AVH Ambassador Scientist, Professor Odeku Oluwatoyin, the DVC, Bowen University, Professor Atobatele, the Chairman Committee of Things, Professor Oladele, who is the chairman for this morning section, all Humboldtians present, dear participants. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you from all walks of life to this international conference, Alexander von Humboldt Kolleg, being hosted by Bowen University, Iwo, Osun State, Nigeria, for the very first time. I particularly want to welcome the Vice Chancellor of this university, Professor Jonathan Babalola, who is also a distinguished Humboldtian, and other principal officers to this unique occasion. Permit me also to welcome and express my sincere appreciation to all invited guest speakers, especially Professor Joshua Ogunwole, the immediate past Vice Chancellor of Bowen University, also Humboldtian, who will deliver virtually the keynote address at this gathering. Professor Kola Adebayo, the Head International Rural Development of Livelihood Support and Development Center, Nigeria, and the DVC FNAP, Professor Isaac Oreolua Ayelagbe of the Department of Horticulture, Federal University of Agric, Abeokuta, Professor Obadina of the Food Science and Technology Department, FNAP, Professor Dare Enoch, who is also an Humboldtian, Professor Adekunle Adefemi from Federal University, Oye Ekiti, Professor Toyin Oludaunse of Food Science and Technology Department, Federal University of Agric, and our own professors, Daunse Ishola Adedoyin and Eri Inegbedion, all of Bowen University. The theme of the conference is Sustainable Agriculture and Friendlier Environment, SAFE, for Safer World. And we shall be discussing the strategies that the countries of sub-Saharan Africa especially can adopt to increase their potential to feed their population without compromising environmental health. Appreciably, huge effort has been invested to address problems of food insecurity, poverty, diseases, and some forms of natural disaster like flooding, earthquake, hurricanes, pest infestations, conflict resolutions in sub-Saharan Africa and other developing countries of the world, yet without better, friendly, and friendlier environments. The people are not yet safe. Annually, mortality rates as a result of air and water pollution is worrisome, and people are dying of secondary effects of eating food inorganically produced, communal wars and disasters, insecurities and other social vices, all indicating that we are here to have a safer world. Safer world at micro-regional and global level is the bedrock for stable technological advancement, economic growth and better livelihood for humanity, and this should be the desire of all researchers in this area. With the global population expected to continue to increase, there is need to develop and adopt sustainable agricultural practices to increase food production. While achieving the above, there is also need to protect humanity from the adverse effects of global warming and climate change. The conference is therefore to be an eye-opener opportunity that will meet the following objectives. Identify current challenges facing farmers in sub-Saharan Africa on the use of smart farming techniques. Assess how economic profitability environmental sustainability, as well as food security, can be promoted simultaneously in the sub-Saharan African region. As our receptive people of the sub-Saharan Africa region are to use biotechnology to attain sustainable and safe agriculture, to identify opportunities and challenges with a view to strengthen food security and sustainable agriculture. This conference is therefore very timely, and it will bring together AVH alumni, junior researchers, industrialists, government agencies, students and farmers within and outside Nigeria to have a brainstorming sections in a bid to discuss strategies that the countries of sub-Saharan Africa can use to feed their population without compromising environmental health. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, let me use this special occasion to appreciate the Alexander von Humboldt for sponsoring this international conference. The foundation sponsors individuals to strengthen collaboration between researchers across the globe. The AVH granted me postdoc fellowship in 2009 to 2020 and 2011, sponsored my renewed research stays in various destinations in Germany in 2005, in 2015, 2017, and 2021. The foundation has also supported my research endeavors with equipment grants in 2012. AVH, no doubt, brightens my career and expanded my research horizon, and I therefore encourage our participants, especially the young researchers, to latch into the opportunity provided by this gathering, which include one-on-one interaction with many Humboldtians present for proper guidance on how to secure AVH fellowship. Special appreciation to the management of Bowen University for providing space and some other logistics for the successful hosting of this conference. I want to appreciate the members of the local organizing committee of this conference, the Industrial Chemistry Program College of Agric, Engineering and Science, and Bowen University staff and students as a whole. Thank you for all those who have worked relentlessly to ensure the success of this conference. Very special thanks to all Humboldtians who are able to find time to participate at the conference. There will be no colleague if you are not come. Please try as much as possible to assist the researchers that will approach you for guidance. To all paper presenters, I want to thank you for enriching this gathering with your diverse ideas. It's good to let you know that your work is one of those that scaled through our rigorous peer review out of the so many abstracts submitted for this conference. To further give value to your efforts, we plan to publish 40 presentations in IOP Book of Proceedings, which is Scopus Index. 20 will be for Bowenites, the other 20 will be for other participants, in order to support the research drive of the university. We believe that doing that, we give practitioner industrialists, researchers, and government agencies access to the very important recommendations that will arise from this conference, while at the same time, make your work more impactful to the society. Finally, I invite you all to enjoy not only the activities of this conference, but also make yourself comfortable and enjoy the unique ecology of Iwo Town. Wishing us all happy deliberation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, convener, for that very beautiful, brief, and condensed welcome address. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point in time, I have the honor of inviting upstage to give us, as we have on our program, the opening remark from the chief host. Please join me as I welcome Professor Jonathan Babalola, himself an Humboldtian, to give the opening remark and to declare the conference open. Please, let's do it with a rising applause for him. Thank you. God bless you.
You can be seated, please.
Yes.
Thank you. It's a privilege to be here today. You know, I've been trying to just think back I know that in 2004, when I got the Humboldt Fellowship, then I spoke to myself that God has eventually done it. But that was the first time I applied. But the application was made in 2003. And the first thing I heard that you are on waiting lists. So when I heard you were on waiting list, I decided to pick up another fellowship, which happens to be the training and research in Italian lab of the International Center for Theoretical Physics. So I went to Italy. So while on waiting list, the AVH came, and I thank God for today. I want to actually welcome our ambassador scientist, Professor Odeku, the principal officers, my colleagues. But you see, when they talk about colleagues, there are colleagues and there are colleagues. I want to welcome distinguished Professor Badejo. I did my undergraduate in Ife, so you know the reason why I had to welcome you specially. Because when we were students, they were there. I want to welcome the Deputy Vice Chancellor from FUNAB. You are welcome, sir. And when I was in PG College, I told my people who are working with me, if this man misbehaves, there are two people that you can talk to. And I gave them the names. And I'm happy that the two of them are here. They are people who can pull me by the hairs. They are people who can call me and knock me down, sit down there. And before I say no, I have to think twice. Professor, I now distinguish, that I have to. Professor Olapeju Ayelagbe and Professor Bamidele Olowolabi. So Bowenites, lecturers in Bowen. So when I misbehave, these are people you can call. They will call me to order. I have so many great friends here. So many great friends that I have met in true Humboldt. And there is another, there are two of them here too. The husband of my aunties. So Professor I.C. Kayelagbe and Professor Adejumo. Another woman that can pull my hair is Professor Anipe Adejumo. So you are all welcome. When I saw the title of this conference, as a scientist, you think the other way. Sustainable agriculture, friendlier environment for a safer world. What came to my own mind is sustainability. And I know we'll be carrying sustainability. Even there's these SDGs, specially meant for sustainability. And really, we need to sustain things. And the first thing that came to my mind is sustainability of academics in Nigeria, which is a big challenge to many of us. The first point is the fact that the profession has found itself in a place where it ought not to be. In those days, people you find in academics are people who are really committed to academics. But the time salary was increased at one time. You have many people who rush to academics who have no business being in academics. And we had that serious dilution at that time, that you begin to think, oh, because this is not there, we will not do this. I know that was not what academics used to be in the time past. I want to thank you for this spirit, especially Humboldt Foundation and Humboldtians that are here, that we are carrying on with the spirit of what academics really needs to be. And this is one of the key things we should have in our universities. There should be sound discussions that will throw out here and there, and people will know that we are doing what we ought to do. Unfortunately, politics has taken hold of academics now, and it's even worse than what we have in the politics out there. I want to plead. If God has given us academics as our calling, let's face it squarely. People told me, and I believe it, that even within the family, there will be politics. But there are politics that are sound. Please, in academics, things should go by reasoning. You give way for the best arguments. Nobody owes it all. I really appreciate this conference, and I want to thank Professor Akintayo for bringing this to Bowen. I just said in the office that if it has not come, I wouldn't know when next it will have come. But I'm just happy now. I think there's another lecturer here who is an Humboldtian, and that is great. I'm happy to hear that. So thinking about sustainability, the first thing that came to my mind was what I just mentioned. To sustain academic culture in Nigeria and to be what we ought to be, please, let's watch out. Others may do it the other way. Let's stand by our calling. And I'm sure God will reward us. I know in those days they say the reward of teachers are in heaven. God may decide to reward you here on earth. But I think the heavenly reward is much, much better. Sustainability, I thought of, in chemistry, the most sustainable thing we have had is the sun. If the reaction we have in the sun has been by fission, by now, the sun ought to have degraded. By now, the earth ought not to be in existence. But the reaction that we have in the sun has been by fusion. People coming together. And just like the scripture says, if one chases 1,000, and two, when they come together, they chase 10,000. That tells you that the power in fusion is much greater. And asking for a strong cohesion between Humboldtians and others who are not yet. Let's bring others together. Let's unite. You see, the major problem we have had in academics has been because there are some who went out from among us. They were the ones who taught them how to divide us. And they succeeded. They succeeded. What we have now is a situation where they want to use public service, civil service rules on university system, which is really, really very demeaning. I think we should resist this, and God will help us. So just like I was saying, sustainability, friendlier environment. Let's continue to create friendlier environment. We are not minding from where you had come from, not minding your discipline, not minding your ethnicity. We come together. It's only when we come together that we can be stronger together. This is my challenge to us, and it brings a friendlier environment, honestly. Where you work, I don't want to think twice, this person wants to criticize me. How do I do it so that they won't criticize me? In such an environment, you won't be able to work well. So the Lord will help us in Jesus' name. So as the chief host, I hereby declare this conference on sustainable agriculture and friendlier environment for a safer world, opened in the name of God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Thank you, and God bless you.
Please, let's celebrate him warmer. Thank you very much, sir. We're grateful for those candid words. I call them candid because he spoke with candor. And if we listened very well, he echoed some very vital points that he condensed together. He spoke about the vitality of us standing together and standing by our calling. He talked about sustainability. And he said, we cannot be strong if we do not come together. And I think that is a wake-up call and a clarion call to everyone who is ably represented here. One more time, thank you, sir. Can we celebrate him? If I have learned anything from him since he came, it is the fact of timeliness. Timeliness and going straight to the point. He wastes no time on things outside of that. So we're very grateful for these lessons we have learned from you, sir. If you check your programs, we have an item following that immediately. We'll be skipping that. And we'll be going straight into the special guest remark. And we do not have in our midst the Consular General Federal Republic of Germany, but we have someone ably representing him, and that's in person of our own special guest, Professor Mrs. Oluwatoyin Odeku. She is dressed in a color that illustrates the title of today's or this conference, and I looked carefully. I don't know if it was deliberate, if it was providential, or if it was intentional. We celebrate you, ma. The next voice you're going to be hearing is her, so why not give it up as we have her on board. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, MC. The Vice Chancellor, my friend and brother, Professor Babalola, the Deputy Vice Chancellors, the convener, the keynote address speaker, distinguished Humboldtians, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I also recognize the principal officers of the university. It's a pleasure for me to be here this morning, and I bring you greetings from the Alexander von Humboldt Foundation. And as I'm so delighted to be here, knowing that we have a Vice Chancellor as an Humboldtian, and I think you have just an Humboldtian, a recent one, right? Yeah. And the Alexander von Humboldt Foundation has been sponsoring fellowships across the world. They've been attracting talents from different parts of the world to Germany to conduct research, and that has bridged the gap between Germany and so many other countries, Nigeria included. In Nigeria, we have about a total of 238 Humboldtians to date. University of Ibadan has about 36 fellows, followed by Obafemi Awolowo University with about 26. And I think FUTA has about 15. The record I have, current record as at yesterday. And it's really a delight that I saw quite a number of new universities having more Humboldtians. And when I was checking, I was looking, does Bowen have any Humboldtian? Because even the newer universities like Covenant has about 3. Even the very unknown ones have at least 1. So I'm so delighted that at least Bowen has 1. And one of the things I hope we should be able to achieve, by the way, let me congratulate Professor Akintayo for bringing this Humboldt Kolleg here. For Humboldtians, we know it's, you compete for it, and for her to be awarded, it must be that she has provided a very good justification. And in the, it's an opportunity for students, staff of this university to key into the Humboldt Foundation fellowships. The saying goes that once you're an Humboldtian, you're an Humboldtian for life. And being an Humboldtian for life means that they support your career throughout. She said she got her first Humboldt fellowship in 2009. Some, the Vice Chancellor got his in 2004. Some, I know someone got his own in 1970, the oldest Humboldtian got his in 1970 something, during GDR. Professor Badejo, which year did you get yours? 2000. When last were you in Germany? 2002. And that is probably because he didn't want to go back. Okay? You have the opportunity of going back every 2-3 years. You have equipment grants, you have book grants, you have so many things. Grants for conferences like this, grants to, foster research so that they can give you grants to support your research in your home institution. And that is why it's a lifelong fellowship. There are so many fellowships around, and I'm sure most Humboldtians will tell you the most robust, the richest of all is the Humboldt Foundation Fellowships. So I want to encourage all the participants to take advantage of the presence of the Humboldtians at this meeting. Please, I want all the Humboldtians to rise up. If you are an Humboldtian in this audience, please rise up. Please look at them very closely. The Humboldt Foundation Fellowship is a very prestigious one. For them to have been awarded the fellowship, shows that they are clearly academic giants. Please contact them during the break, engage them. That is the essence. Because the foundation will only sponsor a colleague if Humboldtians agree to attend, and that is to promote the spirit of the Humboldt Foundation. Please take note of their faces. Thank God you have Professor Akintayo here. You have the Vice Chancellor here. I'm sure they'll be willing to help. Please, let's put our hands together for them. Thank you very much. I want to appreciate all the Humboldtians for taking out time to be here. And it is to promote the foundation, to promote the fellowship. We want you also to benefit, because the benefit is immense. They support you. They are with you. And I can count the number of Humboldtians who have been Vice Chancellor, and you can see, thank God, one Humboldtian is handing over to another one. In UI, it's the same. And so many other universities. Why? The foundation enables you to do, to conduct your research ethically, to engage internationally, and to become an international scholar. And I'm really looking forward to the program that has been put together by Professor Akintayo and her team. And I sincerely, on behalf of the Humboldt Foundation, welcome you all and to wish us all a happy deliberation. Thank you very much.
If you really were moved and inspired by the last set of words she just gave, can we celebrate her more warmly? All of the items you had before hers were informative, but the one that came from her were inspirational. Yes, we had information from the rest. We had inspiration from her. She took us on a travel, and we had an opportunity to enter into a landscape of who we can be, especially when she asked them to stand up. And then you ask yourself, okay, I thought they were one of us, and I was one of us. And then all of a sudden, you just realize that you are aspiring to be one of them, And we look forward to the moment when that happens, by God's grace, especially on account of this gathering. Thank you very much, Ma, for your very great words. God bless you. Let's celebrate her one more time. All right, so we have to be informed also that the event we have today or this week is supposed to have a collection of so many people, as we have indicated in our book of abstracts. But it turns out that at the time and life of the university that we're in, people and staff are on leave. So, and that explains why we have what we can call a bit of a scanty participation, but I'm sure a lot of them will be participating with us online. So that needs to be said so that we do not have a misinterpretation of the gathering here compared to what we have in our books. Thank you very much. Now, the next item on our program ought to be the goodwill message, but we're going to skip that for the next item, and we're to introduce the keynote speaker. And to do that, we have the media. They are set already. And I want you to pay very rapt attention as the media plays the citation of the keynote speaker. Thank you.
This is the profile of Joshua Olalekan Ogunwole. Joshua Ogunwole is a professor of soil science with a broad background in sustainable agriculture, soil ecology, soil and water conservation, nutrient cycling, and soil carbon sequestration. He has over 20 years experience in dryland farming, irrigation, and agroecology with research and expertise in soil quality improvement for raising ecosystem productivity and strengthening resilience of rural agrarian communities in North East and Western Africa. He has a Bachelor of Science degree in Agriculture, Master of Science and Doctor of Philosophy in Soil Science, a trinity of degrees from Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, Nigeria. He has served as lecturer, research program leader, head of department, director, and administrator in many universities in Nigeria. Joshua has received many awards, and some of the notable ones include Research Merit Award for Sustainable Agriculture from the Schweizerfurth Foundation and Support Africa International of Germany, recipient of the Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, the TWASP Postdoctoral Award to the Central Salt Marine Chemicals Research Institute, Bhavnagar, India in 2006 and 2007, the prestigious J. Williams Fulbright Research Scholar Award in 2009 and 2010 at Pennsylvania State University, United States. Joshua secured a TWAS UNESCO Associateship Award between 2010 and 2013 to study soil quality changes on the Nile River Basin Challenge Program at the International Water Management Institute in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. He was a regular associate of the revered Abdusalam International Center for Theoretical Physics, Trieste, Italy, making several visits between 2010 and 2017. He concluded an Alexander von Humboldt Fellowship at the Leibniz University, Hanover, Germany between 2014 and 2015. He was admitted in 2015 into the College Research Associates of the United Nations University Institute for National Resource for Africa, and also the Distinguished Pace Setters Award of 2021 by the New Frontiers Television. He has extensive experience in providing academic inputs for the In-Africa delivery of 7 Australia Awards, Africa Fellowships and short courses, including Dryland Famine between 2011 and 2013, Soil and Water Conservation Agriculture between 2014 and 2015, Irrigation and Water Resources Management for Agriculture between 2017 and 2019 in Tunisia, Kenya, and Ethiopia, respectively. He has published over 70 research papers, reviewed journals and conference proceedings in the area of soil and water agriculture, biofuel feedstock agriculture, irrigation, and structural stability assessment in soils. In the 5 years of his administration in Bowen, which will be winding down on July 31st, 2023, he has been able to strategically place the university in an enviable position within the Nigerian university system. The following are among his many awards and accolades: the Pan-African Distinguished Leadership Award by the African Students' Union Parliament, ASUP, the umbrella body for Students' Union in Africa with headquarters in Ghana, the Campus Security and Safety Award by the Association of Heads of Security of Tertiary Institutions, the Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa Platinum Award by the Northern Youth Progressive Forum as Garkuwan Matasang Arewa, Shield of Youth of Northern Nigeria, the official commissioning as an executive chaplain by the Mission for Africa Chaplaincy Corps. Joshua is happily married, and the union is blessed with biological children and several other children scattered all across the world. An avid fan and player of basketball and promoter of education, Josh, as he is fondly called, loves reading, traveling, and socializing. Joshua Ogunwole looks forward to witnessing in Africa, and especially in Nigeria, where 21st century skills education is embraced for a promising future for the team and youth. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you an astute professor, erudite scholar, and coach, Professor Joshua Olalekan Ogunwole.
Good morning, the Vice Chancellor, the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Principal Officers, the organizer of this Bowen Kolleg, and invited guests, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Let me apologize because I'll be giving this on the road. I was actually supposed to have reached Oye, but I got caught up in the traffic. Please, can you hear me? Please. All right. Thank you. So if you will permit me to share screen. I am supposed to be talking on vascular, arbuscular mycorrhiza fungi versus synthetic fertilizer. What I had intend doing is to, sorry, I'm still trying to find a way to get my screen on. Sorry. Okay. Okay, maybe if I'm having a problem here, I could just, since you have the slide, can I just continue talking? We are looking at vascular, arbuscular, mycorrhiza fungi fertilizer, which is a biotechnology approach to fertilizer use, and the synthetic phosphorus fertilizer. And the question is, for sub-Saharan Africa, which way should we go? And I have tried as much as possible to put a spotlight on what we refer to as sub-Saharan Africa, then looking at forms and benefits of phosphorus to plants, and one critical factor affecting phosphorus availability in soils of Sub-Saharan Africa and the rest of the world is phosphorus fixation in soils. And how can we manage the options, and what strategy can we use to make phosphorus available? Then using that, I brought in the issue of the vascular, arbuscular, mycorrhiza fungi. And then I presented a report of work done in Zaria using vascular, arbuscular, mycorrhiza fungi versus with phosphorus fertilizer on cassava. And I now decide to conclude. Let me say that when we talk about sub-Saharan Africa, what we are talking about is actually that that part of that region that is south of the Sahara Desert, which involves West Africa, East Africa, Central Africa, and the rest. Or you can say that it is the non-Mediterranean Africa. And this area or region is actually diverse, very dynamic, both in geography and Sorry, can you hear me, please? Yes. Now, I want us to, hello? All right. I'm already looking at the glimpses of demographic flight, looking at African population, and here the emphasis is actually on sub-Saharan Africa. The truth of the matter is that as the year goes by, particularly if you look at the one on your extreme left, you will find out that Asia has the largest proportion of world population in 2017, 2030. But by the time we started prospecting from 2050, there is a very likelihood that the Africa population will be at par with Asia population and exceeding Asian population by the year 2100. And if you look at the one on your extreme right, the countries to watch are actually countries that are in sub-Saharan Africa. The first one is Nigeria, followed by Ethiopia, Tanzania, and Uganda. In fact, prospects have it that Tanzania will exceed Ethiopia as time goes on. Ethiopia is the second most populous country currently in sub-Saharan Africa. Now, if we look at countries that account for 65% of annual global population, if you look at in the 50s to 55, it has been China, India, and Uganda that have dictated to a large extent the population of the world. Nigeria accounting for just 2%. That is the only country that could rear its head in terms of population in those periods in sub-Saharan Africa. However, as we move from 2010 to 2015, you find out that India had pushed China behind. Nigeria is already third, accounting for about 8%. And then countries like Ethiopia, countries like Tanzania, Uganda, and Kenya are coming as countries to reckon with. This is the current state of things. By 2045 to 2050, UN population prospects believe that Nigeria may be the leading most populous country in the world, and India will be tagging behind. And you can see the rest countries of sub-Saharan Africa. Now, these have a lot of implications for agriculture, for sustainable agriculture, and for food security. Now, while you are holding that at one side of your hand, I want you to look at the scene in sub-Saharan Africa. The FAO report having that in sub-Saharan Africa, land degradation, 46% of causes of land degradation is ascribed to water erosion, 36% to wind erosion, and physical deterioration. Now, when you talk about water erosion and wind erosion, you find out that these ones are moving soil particles away from wherever they were initially placed and going to deposit them elsewhere. Now, this is a huge challenge because as those soil particles move from the surface, they are moving with the nutrient elements and what have you, meaning that there will be increased challenge of soil fertility and soil fertility depletion if we don't do something to arrest wind and water erosion in sub-Saharan Africa. Now, from our experience in Nigeria, there are times you even find out that erosion could actually be wind and water at the same time. That means when you have wind-driven rainfall, when you have wind-driven rainfall, this is the kind of things you see. You see the particles are deflected by the reason of raindrop, and they begin to get transported and move away from one point to the other. Now, in some of these particles, you will find nutrients like phosphorus. You will find nutrients like calcium. You may even find nutrients like nitrogen in this. Yes. Going forward, can I quickly state that this thing starts like a raindrop impact. When there is a rainfall and there is no cover on the ground and it's eating on a bare ground, it's making the soil to be poorer and to be weaker. And the next effect you will clearly see is that that soil begins to lose its fertility function. It cannot provide nutrients for plant growth. It cannot provide sufficient structure and strength for plant to grow. That's why at times you see that when maize is growing, for instance, and you start seeing a large portion of that maize falling on the ground, which we call lodging in agriculture, it only meant that the structure in that soil was not strong enough to support provide anchor for the maize plant that is growing. And if this is not checked, it will begin to affect ecosystem, the entire ecosystem services, and land begins to become degraded and loses its productive capacity. Now, with all this happening, these are implications you will see will be soil compaction. Why I'm showing compaction here is because I want you to see with this compaction, if you want to apply fertilizer, how easy or how difficult do you think it's going to be on a compacted land? Meaning that even if you are going to employ labor to do that, you are going to pay more because the land is compacted. These are effects of rainfall drop, rainfall splashes, and what have you. Also, if you have a crossed land, you will have to do something to break the clod before you can drop fertilizer in it. These are additional costs for anybody who is involved in agricultural operations. Now, let's look at phosphorus. Let's look at their forms and benefits. Phosphorus can actually said to be in two forms, either in organic or in inorganic forms. The organic forms we find in the plant residue, in manure, particularly in poultry dropping. Poultry dropping contains a lot of phosphorus as much as it has nitrogen, and in certain microbial tissues. Okay. In inorganic form, the major mineral that you could get phosphorus is from apatite, and from complexes of iron and aluminum phosphate, and P that is absorbed, which we say is adsorbed on clay particles. That are, when we continue, you will see what I mean by clay particles absorbing phosphorus. Now, the solubility of phosphorus compound, as well as organic phosphorus, is extremely low, and only very small amount of this P are in solution at any one time. The benefit of phosphorus to crop plants are the things I've listed here. They assist in plant growth and development. And when we talk about plant growth and development, we talk about root development, we talk about plant maturity, and principally seed, flower and seed formation. Flower, seed, and fruit formations. They are very important. Phosphorus is very important in those growth process in plants. It is also vital, which we know in genetic structures, whether it is the DNA or the RNA, phosphorus becomes one of the very important elements in the bonding of these genetic structures. Also, when a plant is rich in phosphorus, it increases the resistance of the plant to pest and disease effect. In legumes particularly, phosphorus becomes important to ensure that the legumes have an capacity to fix nitrogen. Now, these and several other things are what phosphorus will do in plants. That takes us to phosphorus fixation in soils. Most times when you have soluble phosphorus, whether it is from fertilizer or as a result of weathering, this phosphorus usually will react with clay, will react with iron and aluminum compound in the soil. And immediately that reaction takes place, it makes the phosphorus less available for plants to use. All right, and that is what fixation of phosphorus in soil actually means. Once the phosphorus is fixed in soil, that phosphorus becomes not available, not readily available for plants to use. Also, when you talk about clay types, whether 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 clay, the 1-to-1 clay type, that's like the kaolinites, they have ability, they have a high phosphorus fixing capacity relative to 2-to-1 clay types. All right, so where you have 1-to-1 clay types, it has, there is a chance, there is a likelihood that phosphorus applied to those soils, many of them may not be available because they will be easily and quickly fixed in the soil relative to when you have the montmorillonite kind of clay, for instance. The same thing for soil organic matter. Timing of application of phosphorus fertilizer in soil, compaction, which I've mentioned, moisture availability in soil, aeration and soil temperature. This I will discuss in the next slide. So all these are factors that will affect, influence phosphorus fixation or availability in soil. Ladies and gentlemen, let me inform that soil pH is a very strong factor in phosphorus availability in soil. And it's actually pH that influences some of the things I've spoken of earlier. At the extreme right of that slide, I just showed an emoji of how clay particles could absorb phosphorus and not allow that phosphorus to be easily released into for plant use. You can see the phosphorus and the clay particles that have attached to it. Now, depending on the pH of the soil, phosphorus may become fixed by various kind of compounds. And from the diagram I've just shown, depicted in the left, at pH, acidic pH 0 to 5, you will see that iron and aluminum phosphate is what predominates, meaning that iron and aluminum would fix the phosphorus at that acidic pH. And so any plant growing under this condition would have to have more phosphorus fertilizer applied for it to be able to absorb and access phosphorus. Because as much phosphorus fertilizer that is applied, they get fixed by the sexuosites. Also at alkaline condition, 7.5 to 9, what you find out is that the presence of calcium makes phosphorus becomes fixed at that point. So you will find out that there are two peaks of fixation here. At acid pH condition, you have a peak in phosphorus fixation, and at alkaline condition, you also have a peak. Excuse me. So the area where you could say you have a valley in phosphorus fixation is at 5.5 to 7, which is very narrow, which is a neutral, near to neutral condition. And that is when phosphorus becomes available. So the dynamics of phosphorus availability is such that one just have a narrow range for it to be available. And in most soils, you may not be able to achieve this narrow range on the natural condition. I'm looking at options now and strategies to make P available. Okay? Usually, we use soil, we try to increase soil organic matter, particularly in the farming system or agricultural system of sub-Saharan Africa. All right? And organic matter, particularly soil high in organic matter, we naturally contain a considerable amount of organic phosphorus. All right? And if this is mineralized, there's a tendency also that that those could increase the soil P and make phosphorus available to plants. The organic matter in soil also can chelate iron so that it will prevent the formation of iron phosphate, which we mentioned that is prevalent on an acid pH. So every application of organic material, like the farmyard manure, the plant residue, the compost, and what have you to soil, if the pH value is high, it may not make P available. However, when the organic material is decomposed, it could provide that acidic condition that will increase availability of mineral forms of P, meaning that even if it is at high pH, the decomposition of the organic matter could make the condition to be less alkaline and tend towards acidity, which may make P available at that point, because calcium may not be able to fix as much as phosphorus at that condition. Another way we could make phosphorus available is that in trying to supply other plant nutrients, okay, then there may be a possibility to increase absorption of P from the soil to the plants. Like if you're applying ammonium forms of nitrogen, okay, for instance, maybe diammonium phosphate, that you will usually have nitrogen and phosphorus in that kind of fertilizer. And of course, as plant takes in the nitrogen, there's a tendency also that it will facilitate the uptake of phosphorus compared to when you are applying only pure phosphorus fertilizer to that soil for plant to use. Another strategy one can consider is that under soils that have high phosphorus fixing capacity, we may need to apply fertilizer very close to when the plant needs them, particularly phosphorus fertilizer, very close to where the plant needs them. Or else, fixation can take place if we leave it for too long. So usually, what the management practice that is recommended is that just before you plant the crop, you may have applied phosphorus and then plant, or immediately after you plant, you do a basal application of phosphorus, and this would has a likelihood to reduce fixation of phosphorus and make more phosphorus available for the plant to use. Okay. Crop response to fertilizer, phosphorus fertilizer, we say will be greater and would be greater and it will occur more frequently if that soil is low in phosphorus. If the soil is low in phosphorus, and if the soil fixing is not very, very high, that is capacity is not very high, there is a tendency that applying pea fertilizer to that soil may help to get a crop response. What I mean by a crop response is improving yield as fertilizer is being applied. So let's look at the brand of synthetic phosphorus fertilizer that are in the market, because that is what you use to manage phosphorus, which can lead to profitable production. A popular brand, I just mentioned diammonium phosphate. We say that this is a popular brand, and one of the reasons why people love using this is because it contains both nitrogen and phosphate. And like I mentioned earlier, excuse me, like I mentioned earlier, there is tendency that increased phosphate uptake can take place by plants once there is another nutrient like nitrogen there. The monoammonium phosphate is an excellent starter. Excellent starter in the sense that the nitrogen content is not very high, and a high amount of phosphate is in it, meaning that most of the phosphorus requirements would have been put in soil at the beginning of all the early stage of the plant growth. So usually monoammonium phosphate is usually applied as a starter fertilizer at planting. We have the tri-superphosphate, which has declined in popularity because people found out that it's like you are using just phosphate, because uptake of calcium by plants is not like what you will find with nitrogen. And so over time, farmers have not seen a significant improvement in crop nutrition and response. And so it has declined in popularity. One basal dose and single fertilizer that is very popular in sub-Saharan Africa is the SSP, the single superphosphate, when you want to apply phosphorus alone. The single superphosphate also contains some amount of calcium and sulfur. Let me say that as a young researcher several years ago, I was working on soil structure with soils that have had single superphosphate applied over time. And my expectation was that I expect that the structure of the soil should not improve to the level I was getting. And it gave me a lot of concern until my mentor gave me a material on single superphosphate, which I went to read, and I found out that it contained sizable amount of calcium. Now, calcium has the ability to cement things, particularly in soils. They put cement soil particles together, and so improve the aggregation of that soil and improve the structure of the soil. Now, the rock phosphates, those mined from geological deposits, they're actually lower cost alternative to the more soluble phosphate. But several works have shown that just rock phosphates takes a long time to get any response from the soil. So we in most cases what they do is they partially acidulate phosphate rock, maybe with elemental sulfur. And now what you find out is that you have the partially acidulated phosphate rock. This also could be used as a form of phosphorus fertilizer in soils. Now, can we move to the vascular and postcular mycorrhizal fungi? I have tried to get picture, I don't know how clear it is, of the IFA, and the way in which they penetrate the root cortex and deposit nutrients. The mycorrhiza is actually gotten from the word mycos and rhiza, which stands for fungus roots. And there is a mutualistic or symbiosis association between this group of fungi and the higher vascular plants. Okay, and the symbiosis is such that the host mycorrhiza actually gets carbon. It's carbon need from the plant, you know, from the product of photosynthesis in plant and so on. It gets its carbon and helps the roots as much as possible to absorb and translocate to the root mineral nutrient elements like phosphorus, nitrogen, potassium, calcium, like it's been listed there. Now, what happened is that that fungi can actually go beyond the limit of the root. Even when the root had gotten to a level and it's limited by growth, this fungi, when they colonize that root, they are able to grow their hyphae. And as they grow their hyphae and branches out and so on, they ramify into the soil and they are able to extract nutrients in areas where the roots, because of its limitation, could not reach. So thereby, they are able to bring in as much nutrient element in colonized plants relative to plants that are not colonized. Very quickly, I want to share an experiment done by one of my colleagues in Zaria in 2019. He published it in PLOS ONE, and I remembered that, so I called him to send the material to me. I may be able to send the full paper to Professor Akintayo, so that Professor Akintayo can give it to as many that would be interested to read it. This was actually a PhD work by Aliu, and he worked in Samaru and Minjibiri. Samaru is where the Faculty of Agriculture is located in Zaria, in Ahmadu University Zaria, and it's in Kaduna State. It's on latitude 11 degrees north, and it enjoys a long-term mean annual rainfall of 10-11, plus or minus 161 millimeters. Minjibiri, on the other hand, is on latitude 12, is in Kano State, and it has a lower rainfall. Of course, it's in the Sudan savanna, while Samaru is in the northern Guinea. And so rainfall is about 800 to 900 mm. Those were the two locations which this experiment was carried out. It was a split plot design with the factorial arrangement. There were 4 phosphorus fertilizer, which were placed in the main plots. That is 0 phosphorus, 17.5, 35, and 52.5 kg. That means is a difference of 17.5 kg across treatments of phosphate per hectare. Now, the vascular and muscular mycorrhizal fungi, inoculants, we are the ones that were in the subplot. There is a control. That means where there is no VAM fungi fertilizer, and then two sets of inoculants were purchased from Spain, and one is Glomigel, and of course the Glomigel carrier. Usually the carrier are made with fungi spores, okay? And then you have the micro drip, and then the micro drip carrier. He planted cassava, which were 25 centimeters long, the cassava cuttings, and they were planted at the spacing of 1 meter in between spacing, and 0.5 meters between interspacing. Intraspacing 1 meter, interspacing 0.575 meters. So giving a plant population of 13,333 plants. 20 days after planting of the cassava stem cutting, the inoculants were, the plant roots were inoculated. That means they will just gently remove the stem and pour the inoculant there. Of course, the inoculant was produced in vitro. I poured it there and pushed the stem back, because at that 20 days after planting, the stem cutting would have started rooting. Now, details we see in this paper, but I want to point out at the catchy results from this work. The significant differences were observed at Samaru. One, because at Samaru, the soil available phosphorus was low. The average soil available phosphorus is 1.47 milligram per kilogram. All right, and whereas at Minjibir, okay, it's 8.35 milligram per kg. Even though what accounts for medium phosphorus content is 10 milligram per kg, but this is average. And so the effect of VAM fungi fertilizer was found to be better on the low P soil than soil with medium to high phosphorus levels, which we mentioned when we were talking about phosphorus at the beginning. Because the Samaru soils were low in P, addition of P, whether as fertilizer or as synthetic fertilizer or as fungi fertilizer, caused a significant response in the cassava relative to Minjibri that has medium P. The highest root fresh weight of cassava inoculated with Glom gel was observed at 35 kilogram phosphate per hectare. Now, he mentioned that this represented a 50% reduction in phosphorus fertilizer use at Samaru, meaning that with the combined fertilization of VAM fungi fertilizer with a synthetic fertilizer, there was a 50% reduction in synthetic fertilizer use, meaning that the plant was able to access more of the phosphate in the soil, even beyond the reach of the roots because of the fungi. Now, when the soils of Samaru and Minjibri were spiked with same quantity of phosphorus to determine the phosphorus fixing capacity, found out that the Samaru soil had a higher phosphorus fixing capacity than Minjibri soil. That may also be one of the reasons that account for the low available phosphorus that is in Samaru soil. So the scholars noted that there are variability in responses due to soil heterogeneity. That means comparing Samaru soil with Minjibri soil, and also the identity of the fungal strain. You can see here that it is only the glomgen that actually give very good performance relative to the microdrip, meaning that the strain of fungi we use as inoculants become important in the study. Yeah, finally, I now proceed to answer the question, VAM fungi fertilizer versus synthetic phosphorus fertilizer. Which way do we go in sub-Saharan Africa? In most of the farms in sub-Saharan Africa are less than 2 hectares, less or equal to 2 hectares. And the farmers are generally resource poor. And if you have opportunities that could save 50% of synthetic phosphorus fertilizer with the use of the fungi fertilizer, then this will significantly affect the farmer's economy, both his personal, individual economy, and it's also the economy. And so it's something that is favorable, and it's something that one could pursue. Even though fertilizer use in sub-Saharan Africa is low, but who said that we have to use synthetic fertilizer in our soils to be able to get response? These are questions that future young scholars must begin to look at and find means, other means, in which our farmers can survive and which agriculture can thrive better and at a lower cost. In terms of soil ecosystem, soil health, and sustainability of agricultural system in sub-Saharan Africa, I will advise that stakeholders should promote more of biological solutions, all right, than synthetic fertilizer use, which could accelerate soil acidity in soils of sub-Saharan Africa. The truth of the matter is that biological solutions would help to improve our soil health. And the improvement of soil health becomes very important than just talking about improving soil fertility. Okay? When you improve soil health, the physical condition of the soil will improve, the biological condition of the soil will improve, even the fertility and chemical condition of the soil will improve. So the focus of soil management in sub-Saharan Africa is towards soil health improvement and the sustainability of the ecosystem. For our resource poor farmer, I would suggest and want very young people to also begin to look at research work in this area. Use of soil organic phosphorus fertilizer, like vermicomposting. India has done a lot with vermicomposting. That means using the earthworm to make compost. The normal compost that we are used to in southwest Nigeria, I don't see them now like they were about 2-3 decades ago. We need to go back to them. The crop residue application and etc. Along with the use of biotechnological approach, which include the VAM fungi fertilizer. There could be future way to manage and remedy situations of field fertilization in the soils of sub-Saharan Africa. So the truth of the matter is that we need to manage our cropping system to make our phosphorus readily available to crop at early stage, so that crop will be able to uptake them within the crop growing season, so that they won't just we won't just have excess from fertilizers in soil and run the risk of moving phosphorus into water system, either by wind or by water erosion. We could move, when those particles are being moved into water system like river, like stream, and so on, we would have moved a substantial amount of phosphorus into those systems. So in sub-Saharan Africa, I am a proponent of the fact that as much as possible, if we begin to reduce synthetic fertilizer use, I begin to promote biological solution, biotechnological approach to soil management, then sub-Saharan Africa would be able to bequeath a stable soil ecosystem and a sustainable agriculture to generations coming, and be able to address the population growth that we are going to be experiencing in few years to come. So I thank you for listening. I just want us to remember that if sustainable agriculture must thrive in sub-Saharan Africa, we must begin to look at a biotechnology approach using microbes, all right? And also promote organic fertilizers, whether dead materials, whether living materials, we need to do that. And we depend less on synthetic fertilizer use. So once we do this, the Institute for Sustainable Agriculture in Sub-Saharan Africa will be able to carry anybody because it will be a three-legged stool. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your patience and for listening. Before I finally draw the curtain, let me congratulate the Vice Chancellor for hosting this Bowen Kolleg, which I think was the first of its kind in the history of Bowen University. We say congratulations. Let me also congratulate the Akintayos, Professors Akintayo. Thank you for being people of integrity at your word. I could remember that we spoke about something like this when you were coming in, and you promised that you will do everything possible. And today you have kept to your word. I want to congratulate you and thank you for this. Let me also appreciate everybody for listening to my long speech. And I hope that with the way we have tried to present them, it will be, you will understand what I'm trying to convey. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, distinguished keynote speaker. We would like you to please hang around while we quickly take the pictures so that our Vice Chancellor could exit for pressing assignments. Then we'll be back for Q&A. We promise not to take your time at all. Thank you very much. So, Humboldtians and other participants, distinguished in all esteem, on this side, on that side. Let's quickly go take the photographs and then we'll be back for Q&A, which will just be a matter of 15 minutes. Thank you very much. So we'll be back immediately after the photographs. Thank you.
Thank you.
In Bowen, there is an aura that makes mortals work with absolute passion, with the mastery of artificial intelligence, ethical hackers, the power of mass media, the programmers, the IT specialists, the art of communication. We are near, we lead, we motivate. We are a clan with godly culture bounded together with a vision that is destined to transform the universe. Bowen University, leaping to greater heights.